And welcome to the November 6, 2025 meeting of the Newmarket School Board. We'll start the meeting as we always do with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance,
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. First item on the agenda tonight is public comment. If there are any members of the public who have something they'd like to share relative, pertinent to the agenda, come to the microphone. Seeing none, we will close public comment at 5:16. Did any members of the board receive any public correspondence since the last time we were together, 3 weeks ago? Todd, anything come into the school district?
No, nothing that I saw.
All right. So committee updates. I know at least one met since the last time we were together.
Yes, we did have a budget committee meeting. It was a couple weeks back. I did not bring my notes on that one. Come back to me.
It was October 27th.
Right.
And Brant and I came. It was not an official meeting, but we presented to you.
That's right. We did receive a school board presentation on the budget issues that they had been
We really
presenting
made
to
an
us.
impact on the community.
Yes, we're there. So the policy committee also met and went over some things that, at least one of which I think is on the agenda tonight.
There's nothing coming forward on the agenda because both require extra work.
Oh, that's right. So we're some technology-oriented things, and that's still a work in progress. Any other committee meetings?
Healthcare benefits committee meeting tomorrow and probably next Friday.
Okay.
Kathy, Todd, and I met with the Paraeducators Unit to continue moving forward with collective bargaining agreement, and we're getting close. We're getting close to the end. So.
Excellent. Any other committee updates? How about board member comments?
Would that be mine?
That would be your cue.
I was at the New Hampshire School Board Association's delegates meeting, and a lot of parliamentary procedures. Good thing it was parliamentarian, but most of those resolutions that we looked over previously passed with some changes. And there was also a kind of a petition that went around from Lebanon, who has consulted with legal counsel and interested in gathering together a coalition of districts interested in working towards more transparency from school care with regard to the latest unexpected assessments. Specifically, we would like to see more information about how the assessments amounts were determined, whether or not these funds are meeting immediate needs or building future reserves. And at this point, we're just considering writing letters and having pointed conversations between lawyers. But we could also be moving toward additional legal action if questions do not get answered. That came from Lynn Mahan from Lebanon. So I don't know what you want to do with this, but she said to please reply to her if we are an interested party in joining in with that.
Thank you. I think I received the same email. So I guess the question to the board, this could obviously, or not obvious, but it feels to me like it could go a number of different ways. I have not heard anything personally, and Todd, I think you'd agree, that suggests that school care is not being forthcoming about what they're facing and what the numbers look like from their side. I mean, we may not have the perfect level of transparency, but I personally don't get the sense that it feels like they're trying to hide something from the world. So
Based on what was handed out and what Todd relayed to us, I felt pretty I was surprised to hear that comment.
so something new or
I would say one of the things that's happened since the delegate assembly, the annual meeting of school care happened on November 3rd. And one of the ways you can tell whether there's, the information being shared is satisfying people is how many people challenged and asked questions. And there were literally no questions, and there were hundreds of people participating in the meeting, either in person or virtually. And so it did seem after that, this is November 3rd, it did seem that the desire that people had for more information was satisfied by what was said. I think school care has taken the tack that they recognize they could have been more transparent, and they are trying to be more transparent. Yep.
So there was additional information we weren't aware of.
Well, they gave a comprehensive presentation on everything, and it certainly financially lined up with everything they've been saying.
So you didn't have any questions about it?
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't have any significant questions, other than I really wish we weren't being assessed $470,000.
We're lucky in some districts.
The increase that we saw from school care, I think, was in line with what we expected based on what we were seeing for quotes from other insurance companies as well, right? Or at least the one other that we had access to get.
Yeah, you
numbers
mean
from.
last spring when
Yeah.
the rate was, that rate was that was actually lower than what Health Trust was offering at the time.
Okay.
And keep in mind, at this point, there are two pooled insurance entities left in the state, Health Trust and school care. So it's one or the other.
Right. I guess we wouldn't expect anything different from another provider. We don't feel that, the rule is being pulled over our eyes here in terms of how much we're being charged from them, right? I mean, this assessment doesn't seem out of line.
Well,
right? I guess-
certainly the rationale that they provided for it is clear. I mean, the amount of claims made in the 24-25 school year exceeded dramatically what they'd expected. They presented, and I'd be happy at a future meeting to bring it. They have a whole PowerPoint that shared the data. But really, where the additional cost is coming from is what they call the super users, if you will, the people who have the really high cost needs. And the number of people in 24-25 that had significant medical needs in the pool was dramatically higher than it had been before. And it was part of a trend over 3 or 4 years, but it came together in the 24-25 year when they simply didn't have enough money to cover all the claims, and that's what led to the assessment.
Okay.
So it's my personal opinion is they've been pretty transparent, but again, I don't claim to have monopoly on knowledge about school care.
So Brian, did you have any concerns at all with any transparency issues with them?
I think they've been very transparent.
Can you come to the mic?
I think they've been very transparent in terms of how we got to this situation. And they've said, yeah, we should have done a better job with the forecasting. And that's, I think, where we can find fault with them is a year ago, they should have they should have seen this coming. And then the timing of it is really what was very challenging. So if they had done a better job with their actuary work earlier on, I think it would have softened the blow now. But in terms of them hiding anything now, I don't have a problem with what they said.
Okay.
Thank you.
So from the standpoint, and I'm not really going to ask for a vote, but just more of a straw poll, I guess. I mean, can anyone think of something specific we would be looking for in the way of a change or a remedy from signing on to this letter? Because that's, I mean, for the district.
Related to the letter, no.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of changes and remedies I'd love to see, but I don't think this letter is deriving it, any of them, unless somebody feels differently. All right, I'm
Just
going
wanted to share it with you. so
No,
we
we
have that discussion.
appreciate it. We need to stay on top of this because my bias is to believe that this isn't going to get better as time goes on.
Should we ask Kathy just to simplify thing and
Yeah, actually, if you wouldn't mind, just, and you don't really, I don't think you have to get into any of the
No, I'll
particulars,
say
just,
thank you.
we discussed it,
Discussed
and
it, yeah.
this doesn't sound like the right letter for us. All right, so if the board is agreeable, Todd sort of gave us a sneak peek at his superintendent report tonight, which is expected to be very content heavy. Yeah, so if everyone, I mean, we'll go ahead and do the student representative report, but if we could bump the superintendent report down between items 2 and 3 under the discussion, if everyone's agreeable to that, just so we give people the opportunity to get on here a bit earlier. All right. Sawyer, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'll start off, excuse me. I'll start off with some sports. Fall season's starting to wind down. Boys soccer had their semifinal game on Monday against Epping, where it was a really close game, but they ended up losing in overtime. Girls soccer had their first round of playoffs on October 29th, where they unfortunately lost against Profile. For cross country, they had Division III states. That went really well. For girls, Senior Magnolia Redmond placed 19th, and then the girls team placed 4th overall. And then for boys, I placed 21st. Sophomore Ben Patrick placed 16th, and the boys placed 5th overall. Then we had the Meet of Champions, which both teams qualified for. The Boosters Club actually provided some snack bags for us, which was pretty nice. But it was a great way to end off the season, and there were some fast times. For football, on November 1st, they had a game against Lebanon where they won 27-0. And then they have their first playoff game this Saturday at and against Guilford at noon. Some recent events we've had was trickle canning. It was pretty successful even with the circumstances that we fell in. We ended up getting over 2 tons of canned goods. We also had Socktober, which is a sock drive that we do every October. I'm pretty sure that was really successful too. On October 28th, we had Apply NH Day, which is where you can apply to any New Hampshire school or college for free. We had about a dozen kids apply. And also we had our Halloween costume contest on the 31st, where both students and staff participated. Peyton Ursides won for students, and she was the Lorax. And then Dave won for staff, and he was dressed as a pirate. Yeah. We had the Winter Sports Parent Night. I'm pretty sure that was last night. That went well. And then also this past week, and I think next week too, we've had some Connors Klein presentations, which is a mental health awareness presentation. Some upcoming events, we have Fall Sports Awards Night on Monday. We have basketball tryouts starting November 17th. And then we also have a staff luncheon next Friday, I'm pretty sure that's the 14th, where I'm sure all of you have heard that there was a recent fire and some staff members were actually impacted by that. So student organizations are going to come together and make food, and then all the money that's raised is going to go towards the victims. There's also the improv show next Friday from 7 to 9. And then away from events, I've had a few people come to me, I don't know what we're going to do about this, but talking about how they've noticed that the school seems to be like really dirty. Just the floor is not really getting swept. Miss Blake was talking about how she had to go to the doctor because her room hasn't been cleaned properly, and she had a bunch of clay dust in her system. So I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up.
I would suggest having a conversation with Mr. Riley and kind of bringing him up to speed. And I guarantee he is a man that will be on that like you would not believe.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Sawyer. Just to follow, and I'm sure Todd was planning to hit on this too, but just while people are here and watching, one thing that came from the winter sports parent meeting, we are still looking for a coach for the boys middle school basketball team. So anyone who is watching who has an interest in coaching or helping out, we I believe the posting is on the school district's website, and Mr. Hayes would love to hear from you if that's something of interest to you. And yeah, the other, I feel badly for the girls' soccer team. I could not make the trip to Bethlehem to see that one, but we did go to Laconia for the boys' game. That was heartbreaking. Oh, wow. So brilliant season by both teams, but rough when it comes to an end. All right, next on the agenda, we have a guest who is going to make a presentation about a memorial bench that...
If I could, as everybody is aware in the community, last spring, we lost a really beloved member of our community, Janna Mellon, who was our business administrator, and just an incredibly impactful person. And one of the big projects that she was involved in, and Mike will address it, was the playground project at the elementary school. Following the memorial service for Janna, Mike and I had a conversation about things that we could do to honor her memory. And what Mike's going to talk to you about tonight is tied into that desire to honor Janna's memory. So Mike, the floor is yours. And thank you for being here.
Before I get started, I wanted to thank the community for all that you've done. It's obviously been a really rough couple of months, but I am very grateful for the generosity and the kindness. And I especially want to thank Todd and the administrative staff. They made a lot of things run a lot smoother for my family. Once this happened, as you can imagine, we were scrambling to try and figure out what to do next. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that and thank the community again for all that you did and all that you continue to do. So to kind of move on to the reason why I'm here. So as Todd mentioned, we were trying to think of something to do to kind of honor Janna. As a lot of you probably know, she was a UNH alum, and she had a lot of friends at UNH that were my friends as well. And they all kind of reached out when this happened and said, we want to do something to, they had suggested planting something at my house, and I was like, no, let's not do that, because in the long term, I don't know what will happen at the house. So I said, what might be better is something in the community where she worked, because she really enjoyed the work that she did here. And I think something like that might be a little bit more meaningful. And so, as Todd indicated, we started talking about it, and that's when the idea came up to do a memorial bench. And the idea then kind of morphed into, let's do it at the playground, which is outside the elementary school. And I know that she was really instrumental in helping move that project along. So as much as you guys probably got updates on it, I got updates at home frequently about that project. So all of the things that you guys tell me about the project, I kind of heard them all along the way, but it's always good to hear it again. And so the process has kind of moved along, and what we've done is I've already met with Todd and Dave Riley. The site that they picked is great. My understanding is that Dave has picked out a bench style that is in keeping with other types of benches in the town of Newmarket, and that looks perfect to me. We will put some type of a small memorial plaque on it as well, just to indicate why it's there. And we have already created a GoFundMe site for this. One of Janna's dear friends from UNH set that up. And it's been up for about 2 weeks, and it's somewhere between $500 and $1,000 now. But I want to assure the board that we will cover all the financial cost of doing the bench, as well as any cost to install it. Whether the Dave Riley team does it or you hire someone to do it, we'll cover that cost as well. So we are kind of asking for permission to do it. And then in addition to that, my understanding is that I have a couple of new young friends here who want to participate through the after-school program in a fundraising effort. And we kind of got hooked up together thinking that they could kind of help us fundraise for this. And we kind of made it, I think, probably a little bit easier for you by having the GoFundMe set up. So whatever you do, you can just contribute what you feel you would like to that. And so without further ado, I'd like to ask these two young ladies to come up and say their part.
Can you take the microphone down for them so they... And while they're getting there, I do want to comment that Mr. Riley and I had the honor on, was it Monday afternoon, Mr. Riley? No, Tuesday afternoon. We went over and heard their presentation for their plan, which they're about to share with you right now. So they did a great job. So go ahead. Want to introduce yourselves first?
I'm Caroline. I'm Darby. We love our new playground. Many groups raised money for our playground, but it wasn't enough money. Then Janna Mellon found a grant, and with the grant money, and because of her, we have the playground we have today.
Our service learning program met as a group and decided to make and sell bracelets and memory games to raise money and to make a donation to be able to help put a memorial bench on the playground to honor her.
We met Mr. Allen and Mr. David this week, and they gave us permission to sell bracelets and memory games on the school property to raise money for the donation. We will sell them when we are on the playground in the afternoons, and at least once more in the week. We will also look at the other events to sell them at. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for our young presenters?
Only a comment, which is that I really appreciate that you brought this forward to us and telling us about this, and I am excited about the ideas that you guys have.
I was wondering if you were just talking about spaghetti supper coming up, if that was a place where you think that some of the teachers at NEX and Mr. Miller would be willing to give you a little spot you wanted to set up.
Yeah, we looked at that. Do you want to touch it?
Yeah, the spaghetti supper is a little too soon, and they were afraid they wouldn't have enough bracelets. But we did get them a free table at the craft fair that's here. And we spoke to the rec department, and they suggested Newmarket Youth Basketball Association games, so we are looking for opportunities. Spaghetti supper is just too compact of a schedule for them to make enough bracelets.
Makes sense.
I have a question. First of all, the presentation is excellent. I appreciate it. Who are you making the bracelets with? How many of you are involved in this? Just you two, or do you have a whole little group of kids that you're working with?
So there's some other people. There's Ellie, Jackson, Augie, Nathan, me, Caroline, and Ella.
Sounds like you've got a good team going and an excellent job. Thank you.
And I do want to compliment Link Together that they're restarting service learning projects with the kids, and this came from a group of kids separately. It actually was sort of fortuitous. Mr. Mellon and I had some conversation about this, and then the kids came forward wanting to do something completely on their own, and it was just a matter of connecting the two ideas. So thank you to Link Together to taking this on, because I think it speaks of the desire that the program and the kids have to give back to the community, which is just really nice. And it shouldn't be lost that Link Together also had a group of kids many years ago, before the playground was built, who raised a lot of money that eventually went to the construction of the playground. So it's been this playground has been a commitment of the Link Together kids for a long time. So thank you, ladies. Thank you.
I do want to add one more comment that you ladies are presenting yourselves in a very, very similar way than Mrs. Janna and always done it before. So you're standing with poise, you're very clear, you're very confident, and you clearly are both very hard workers. So you'd be very, very proud to have you two at the forefront of this.
Thank you.
So thank you. So,
Thank you. Also, the advisor, you the advisor, thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
All right, with the board's consent, we're going to rearrange the agenda just a little bit to move the action item up to, I'm sorry, it's number 7 under the action items, to accept the donation of the bench in memory of Janna. So I'd seek a motion to approve that. Thank you, Gary. Do I have a second? Thank you, Kathy. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are unanimous, 5-0. Thank you so much for everything. We really appreciate it.
thank you, Mike, for being here. I really appreciate seeing you, and I hope you have a nice dinner with your son.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, let me just, before I forget. All right, so we've kind of blown the agenda to smithereens at this point, but I'm pretty sure that next up, we have Becky Cole, who runs the Media Center here at the Junior Senior High School. Becky presented to us last year around this time and had the severe misfortune to draw a meeting where we had an agenda that was going to keep us here quite late under any circumstances.
And she very, very courteously
Yes.
adjusted her presentation to meet our needs. So I thank you for that.
Yeah,
And
we
thank you for being
appreciate
here.
it a great deal.
Hi. Okay, here we go. Hi again, board. Nice to see you. Thanks for having me again. Todd invited me back, so I thought I'd give you an update on the year so far and just sort of what I do, what I've been doing, and what I plan to do. So I apologize that you're going to have to kind of toggle between the screen, but I'll try to make this fun and painless. Okay, so here we go. At the start of this year, I sent out a form for staff to pick out a sign that they could display outside their classroom advertising what they're currently reading. So I'm hoping it promotes literacy and community by generating discussion about the reading material that people are doing. Here are some of the signs that I came up with, and Ms. Wetzel came up with her own. She wanted a raccoon. So these are displayed outside our classrooms, and I have had many conversations about what I'm reading with students, and so, just it's a small thing that kind of pays dividends to spark conversations about books and reading. My goals to continue creating a culture of reading are creating shelf talkers. You've seen them at Barnes & Noble perhaps, or Water Street Bookstore, where staff picks, what's this about? It grabs your attention, and so I want students and staff to participate so that it, again, they have ownership of what's going on in the library and promoting more books and literacy. Book talks as well, trying to sell books, just a little snippet like, hey, I don't know if you've seen any book talks or on TikTok, but they're popular, and a lot of students come in asking for books that were on book talks, so I want to keep that going. So promoting literacy. This has been an ongoing project the last 4 years, but hundreds of books have been weeded, and they were outdated or never been checked out or damaged for whatever reason. So I've been transitioning from fictional books being shelved alphabetically by author's last name. If you go in any typical library, that's what you do. You go and you scour the shelves and you try to read the spines, and you have to know what book you're looking for, and you have to know the author, or, approach the catalog. That's tricky for middle school and high school students to do. So I had done a lot of research and realized that genrefying was the way to go. There were more checkouts than ever before in other libraries across the state. So I have been doing that for the last 4 years, and I could not have done it without a lot of helpers along the way. So thank you publicly to community members Jenny Carpenter and Wendy Crowley for their visits and help. Former staff members who worked here, Chloe Kipka, Liz Bolio, and Nancy Castellan helped as well, and many, many student helpers, especially Beckett Yamato Lutton, who graduated last year. They've assisted me in this task, so I just want to publicly thank them. It was a lot. So this year, all of the nonfiction books were moved to the lower shelving units, and most of the fiction books were moved against the back wall for better visibility and accessibility. And if you can imagine, if you're a 6-foot senior trying to look for books on the very bottom shelf on these, kind of crouching down to look for books, it's not that easy or accessible. They don't want to crouch down and try to find something. So transitioned all of the books and genrefied them. A lot of student helpers assisted me with this as well. Finally did it. Thank you especially to Maya Purcell and Connor Bono. These are just some pictures that will tell a lot about their transition process. Lots of piles, miles to go before we sleep here, lots of Advil for my back. And here they're student helpers helping to rearrange things, clean, etc. And especially because of the roof work all summer, lots of dust and other unmentionables were found. So now I'm going to talk about dynamic shelving, which I'm transitioning to. It's a combination of strategies to shake things up and make your shelves more engaging and appealing and accessible, other than the static shelving, which are the books spine out like in a typical library. Think about walking into a library versus walking into Barnes & Noble. You go into Barnes & Noble or a bookstore, it's by genre. There are lots of books facing out. They're intended to grab your attention. It's like marketing 101, and you want people to grab the books. I want kids to grab books and read. So this is how, like, a part of how you make these books try to sing. Why do it? You can read it. Make it appealing, accessible, navigable, fun, enjoyable, etc. You want to empower your readers to be independently successful, to browse for and find the books they want to read. So you can read the rest of that, but it is all about trying to make your patrons independent and able to find what they're looking for easily. So this is static shelving versus dynamic shelving. I got this picture from Don't You Shush Me, and you can see the difference, right? Like, which would you be drawn to? The picture on the right. It's just like, wow, I want to go to that. I want to pick out a lot of books, and so that's what we're striving to do here. Here are some of these aren't very good, but I have gone ahead and taped all of the genres, all the fiction. So this is the fantasy section. I've created new signage. Here's realistic fiction and horror, romance, identity, historical fiction, mystery and thriller. So if you go into the library, which this meeting is not held there right now, but you will be back in there and you can see it firsthand. So I would like to say, this isn't on the screen, but I just want to give you a stat. Last year, there were about 1,600 books checked out total throughout the year. This year, for the last 2 months, over 700 books have been checked out. So we can speculate on why, right? No cell phones, big deal that more kids are reading, but and more maybe SSR time in English classes. But I like to think that this is also a part of that. So we're on our way over, just about over half, and it's only been 2 months. So I'm just really happy about that fact, and I can't wait to kind of just give you a heads up, like in June, how many books have been checked out. So what's next? I want to do specific signage for classics, poetry, Shakespeare, novels and verse, various subcategories for sport. I have a sports section, but for the kids who want to go to the basketball section, baseball, soccer, football, etc. Animals, kids love animal books. So now I'll break it down into cats, dogs, birds, fish. I'd like to tape the graphic novel section, order more bins to house series and manga sets, and apply contact paper to make each section pop, like you saw in the picture. So that all costs money, and I can't do it all this year. Contact paper is expensive if you look on Amazon, but that is my overall goals for the future. This year also started a student showcase, so just recognizing student artists and to display their work for a few weeks. This is Tegan, and he's very proud of his dinosaur exhibit. He takes toy dinosaurs and places them in various settings. You can see them outside in the hallway right now. They were in the library, and then I thought more visibility, so put them in the hallway so everyone can see. So I will get, Shay Butler is next on the docket to present her artwork next. This year, I think it's really important to build community, so why not have a school-wide pumpkin decorating contest? We had lots, you can see them in the hallway as well. We had over, over 25 entries. They received Aroma Joe's gift cards. And it's just a fun thing to get the whole school try to involve for the season. I also got a mule mascot. Her name, I'll tell you, we had a school-wide vote, so 6th through 12th grade got to nominate some names, and then we narrowed it down and came up with Millie the Mule, named for the hardworking people who worked in the mills. She's very photogenic. And I will say, since Sawyer is here, the second place winner was Sawyer Hill Jr. So we could have been meeting a different mule name, but sorry to embarrass you. He tried. He tried. But it was close, honestly. But, people will put Millie in different positions, coloring or reading, or people just snuggle with Millie, and so I just think it's a nice, team building sort of fun thing for our school to have. We've got admissions reps visiting from UNH and various other schools. I just managed to grab this picture. You might recognize some people in there. Filling out applications. That's offered through the counseling department. This is a day in the life of me. I have the awesome privilege of maintaining the library, and I get to see kids doing funny things, making puzzles. Brandon Dranchongo made the spooky ghosts to hide out during spooky season in the shelves. More puzzles, magic tricks. I had the privilege of working with Ms. Harrington's 6th graders. It happened to fall on Halloween, so we wrote spooky stories, brought them through a 20-sentence story writing activity, and it was awesome because a good handful of them were dressed up as well. So you can see a cow is presenting her story right now, and they're adorable. And they were just hard at work. You should see the stories they came up with. It was very fun. And Ms. Harrington obviously has them writing a lot because they just went right to work, and it was great. Disco Dan up there. Yeah. So I got to work with Mr. Jacques' forensics class to do some research for DNA and other various ways that they find criminals and serial killers. Maker clips, some pictures, and ideas to consider for the future. put this out to my librarian listserv. How can I better engage juniors and seniors, especially those who have already met their credit requirements? So I'd like to explore as many creative and meaningful opportunities as possible to keep them inspired, engaged, challenged, and future focused. So here are some of the ideas that were shared from various library media specialists around the state, and I can provide specifics for you. A buddy program, like a group that goes to the elementary school or the Sunset Center to read or play games with them, right? To have more community involvement. Nonprofit organizations have New Beginnings talk about safe dating or healthy relationships. Speakers to talk about drugs, alcohol, and looking specifically at how companies target the youth. College prep, obviously that's a big one. FAFSA, scholarship application workshops, that alone would take half a year. College success skills, and time management hacks, like there's so much more reading in college, and how to manage all of that when you're not in a strict schedule would be helpful. Financial literacy, definitely. Career certification courses, I really liked this one. So condensed programs offering CPR and first aid, simple machine operation, food handling, Microsoft Office certification, other master classes perhaps that would be really pretty cool. Capstone projects, which would be self-directed, career counseling, so various, career-oriented people who can discuss training that they did, schooling they had, their first job or the pathway of entry, a typical day on the job and benefits and salary. Maybe alternative career pathways, such as Portsmouth Naval Shipyard's trade apprenticeship program, and more how to adult sessions. So how to buy a car or, applying for jobs, interview skills, credit basics, things like that. Some of it's repeat, but I think this is all very valuable, and so just to put it out there, like we could do some pretty cool things. The infographic on the left is from Heather Hansen from Portsmouth High School. They have a flex block, and they have sort of this time where people can come and ask questions about any number of things. So that might be really cool to work with counseling, to invite people in to answer the adulting questions, or our ELO coordinator. So anyway, I just thought these would be some ideas to kind of bring in to, help out our juniors and seniors. So thank you for your endless time and your support and having me again. I appreciate all that you do for us. Thanks.
Thank you. I feel like I still need a lot of how to adult myself. I particularly like the one about vehicle maintenance. I had the opportunity last summer to show my child how to jump a car, and had it not happened to have that opportunity, you probably wouldn't know. So things like that, we just see people learn and know how to do.
I really appreciate everything you're doing, but especially that focus on it's something that we as a board have talked about a little bit, that we lowered the graduation requirements. That was absolutely the right thing to do. I'm still convinced of that, but we probably did not put quite enough thought into, okay, what do we do in its place? So thank you for focusing on that. It's something the whole district, is a challenge we're facing. Really appreciate that.
I think you can tell by Becky's presentation that this Library Media Center is very much the center of a lot of learning activity that goes on. And I think that one of the things that's really clear in all of your slides is just how welcoming of a place it is and how excited kids are to be there and to take on a variety of things, from choosing that book that they're excited about to research to all of these different things. And as we talk about junior and senior year and more project-based, clearly the Library Media Center becomes a really, really important place. When you send kids off to do independent work and so forth, you have to be ready to respond to it, and Becky really tries hard to respond to all of the different polls in lots of different directions, so keep up the good work.
Nice.
On that note, can you back up 5 slides?
I will try.
38 of 43, I think is the one. It's like 4 or 5 pictures on it.
Oh, okay.
That's the one.
That's the one.
This is such a great picture. Yes, it's not the books that are the feature here, and I know in a library we want the book, but I mean, we've got a lot of different activities going on, a lot of stuff happening, and look at the joy on her face there on the bottom right. I know that's not a complete work of art yet, but it's on its way to becoming something, and there's just so much happiness, so much creativity, and so much learning that's on display just in those few slots.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, yep.
And I think, on that note, I don't think that a lot of students or children aged preschool to high school get as many opportunities in this day and age to do things and play with different things or just rummage through.
It's robotics, yeah.
Do those things that maybe a lot of us had the opportunity to do and explore. So I just think it's great that you're in a place where they have that opportunity to meet, explore, mess around, try something, have help define their passion and things that they're interested in.
And the range of different interest points you have there, like I'm looking at the crime museum.
Yeah.
You've got to love that, and all these kids are, they look like they're really engaged, so it's not just killers, I don't think, it's, you're really giving them something of substance, which is, and adulting,
So,
As a board, we would absolutely be remiss not to point out how much we enjoy your space in the summertime.
Yeah.
very
and
glad.
apologize for rearranging your furniture, but also we're not going to stop, so.
No, it's great.
We can try to put it back.
We do,
I do want to say, every time there's like a PD day or meetings in there, Todd always stops and says, thank you for letting us use your space. And I always feel uncomfortable because I want to say, it's our space. I'm just the beneficiary, a great steward, and I get to maintain it. I mean, I feel like I hit the lottery with this job, so thank you. It's our space, so I'm glad
But your
to be able-
flexibility has been enormous. There's been a lot of times when you have taken a different direction just to accommodate us,
No worries.
and I do appreciate it. 'cause-
Yeah.
Thank you.
Glad to help, yes. All right. Well, thank you again for your support, everyone. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Becky.
All right, now, the much delayed superintendent report.
There you go. I hope I don't let people down. I feel obligated to really talk a lot. So, no. Actually, the first thing I wanted to mention, you'll see a handout at everybody's table that I just wanted to point out. It's I brought this tonight specifically. This was something that the last May Janna found, and she said, I want to give this to the board. And she bought a bunch of copies of it, and to be honest, it got lost in the shuffle. And so I wanted to make sure to give it to you, and I thought tonight was a good night to do that. But it's actually a graphic that kind of gives you an indicator of the growth of the responsibilities that public schools have going back to 1900. Because one of the things you get in budget season is you get a lot of people talking about, per pupil cost is going up and so forth. But one of the things that people often neglect is the responsibility of the public school system has dramatically changed. And so this, I wish I could share it for people at home to see, but it definitely gives a real clear indication of, when public schools were started in the early 1900s to today, the level of responsibility is just so dramatic. And it's just something to be reminded of that, yes, there's no question there's a financial cost to running public schools, but the level of responsibilities and the range of things that public schools do for kids and families has grown exponentially over the years. So I just wanted to make sure to share that with you and let you know that was a gift from Janna.
Here's the 1900, and here's the 2000. We've gone from 4 to probably 44.
Yes.
If not more.
Yeah, it's on. So anyway, enjoy it at hang it in your den at home and remind yourself of it.
What year did they take lessons in basic hygiene out? 'Cause when my kids come home from school, they don't seem like they've had
We didn't
those
say we were
lessons.
successful in all lessons.
Okay.
We just keep trying. We just keep.
I see 1960s, they started Head Start. I was actually the little student aide in Head Start back
There you go.
then.
So you have clear memories of many of these things. So anyway, just to give you that date, I wanted to share that with you. So moving on to the rest of my report, I did want to start out, I wanted to mention Dan Bryant and I had the opportunity to meet with Scott McGrath, who's on the Town Energy Committee, and Lindsay Butler, the town engineer. They, as you may have heard, there's an interest in a solar project in town. And actually, I had the opportunity, kind of funny, they invited me to go on a tour of the Oyster River Middle School facility to learn about energy efficiency, which I was able to remind them, actually, I was part of the design project of that, so be happy to show you around. So anyway, we spent some time over there, and they had particularly started with the idea of a carport, because I don't know if you've been over there, there's a carport at the Oyster River Middle School facility. It's got a solar array on its roof, and so you can park cars under it, but you got a solar array that does energy. And initially, they thought that was going to be an idea that they want to talk to the school district with. For lots of reasons, which I'm happy to talk to you about it on a future time. It really isn't a practical thing for us. That happened to work for that project because it was part of a bigger energy sustainability concept, and putting that solar array got them to a level of LEED certification that they were going for. But the cost, it would never pay itself back if we did it as a standalone project. So we had a conversation about that, and I think there was a little bit of disappointment from the group that that was not something we could buy into. But we did end up having a conversation about the possibility of using the Carpenter property across the street, some portion of that, possibly having a solar array on it. And as it turns out, the town is working with an energy consultant, and they're assessing various town properties for their viability as a solar location. And so they added the Carpenter property to that. Obviously, that doesn't bind us to anything, but it gives us an opportunity to kind of find out its viability. And I did use it as an opportunity, as I shamelessly do, to say, gee, we also want an athletic field over there. And wouldn't it be great if we had an athletic field there with lights that were powered by a solar energy? Wouldn't imagine the symmetry and the imagery to the community. And they were like, oh, wow, that's a
solar panels on top of the new rec center.
There you go, all kinds of great things. Anyway, so we had a really nice meeting. I hope to have some information more, because they claim to, this consultant will be able to give us some information by the end of the calendar year. So I'm figuring probably in January I can give you a report on kind of what that possibility is. I do want to commend Dave Riley, because I know he's done a lot of work in the past. In fact, Dave was part of this meeting as well, because he had done work assessing our building's viability for solar energy. And I know people are disappointed, but our buildings were never designed for solar. I mean, the roof on this building, in some parts of it, is 100 years old. Solar wasn't in the thinking back in 1925. So it really isn't an option without a significant investment, and so just something to be aware of. But anyway, I thought this was a nice possibility that the school district might be able to partner with a community group, and it might get us something that would be beneficial. So I'll keep you posted on that. Second thing I wanted to mention, Patty Wands and I joined a statewide collaborative group to look at the issue of open enrollment. It is it's being organized by NHLI, the New Hampshire Learning Initiative, to basically try to come up with a network of public schools to begin to talk about what does open enrollment mean, and preparing ourselves for the future of it. Not necessarily in an inevitable way, but I think it's likely that some elements of the open enrollment concept is going to exist in public education. It's happening across the country. We'd be naive if we didn't believe it eventually would come here. But the intent of this is to have community groups sort of brainstorm and begin to develop a strategy for how to deal with it. And one of the things I know Patty and I walked away from it with is really it goes to the idea of a marketing strategy for our school community, and like what do we want to be known for? And that obviously that could play a role if we were in an open enrollment environment, but it wouldn't be such a bad thing to be able to define ourselves better for the community. So anyway, we just attended one session, so we haven't solved any problems, but there is asking us to try to get a group together. And of course, I know, Kathy, you've been involved in this through the New Hampshire Fair Funding. Didn't know if that would be something that either Kathy or another board member might be interested in joining us. There's a couple of virtual meetings coming up in the next couple of months to just sort of start talking things through. Our next meeting next month, oh no, it's this month, now it's November. November 19th, the topic is what they call empathy interviews. And the idea is how to interview people in your community to kind of get a sense for what it is they want from their public schools. That's different than doing a survey. It's like, literally, it's an interview process. So anyway, think about that. If anybody is interested in that, let me know, because I think it would be something that could benefit the school district. Now pause for a second. Any questions?
Do you know if they'll all reverse the meetings at the same time?
They're basically, I think the intention is once a month, they'll have a meeting, and then periodically, probably 2 or 3 months, it'll be an in-person meeting in Concord. The meeting that Patty and I went to was in Concord, so it's a little bit of both. Well, I think what's happened, they picked that time, and then there was like 101 different reasons why other people couldn't do it. So I think they're going to be trying to find the best time to get people involved. So the answer is maybe it won't be at that time. Okay, so
I put it on my calendar.
Okay. I'll send you the information on it if you want to be a part of it. I think we walked away, Patty and I, feeling pretty good and think, okay, this might have some value to us as a district. Shifting gears, we obviously talked about school care a little bit earlier in the meeting, but I did want to mention, and at the next meeting, Brian and I will have a memo to share with you. School care is aware of the impact that the assessment is having on many school districts. And obviously, we have one option, which is to wait until the end and pay it, but we have to pay a finance charge on that. They've come up with a payment plan where you can avoid finance charges. And basically what it involves is if you pay a third of the cost by December 31 and have a plan to pay the remaining balance before July 15th, you will not be assessed any finance charges. So at our next meeting, it would be worth having a conversation about if we want to do that. As we've already talked about, remember the trust fund that we have for health benefits has $133,000-ish in it right now. That's not quite a third, but it's almost it. So just something to think about. And obviously, if we decide to tap the trust fund immediately, we have to hold a public hearing to do that. So we'll talk about that next meeting, but I wanted to let you know there is another alternative for us to do that. Any questions on that? Okay, next thing I wanted to mention, this year is the first year we have done our registration process through an online portal through Infinite Campus. And I'm pleased to report that for 93% of families, it worked flawlessly, and we were able to get that. We are at the point where we have 93% of them done and 7% that have not been done. And so just so you know, we didn't just send it out and then ignore it. We have called, we have mailed, we have emailed, we have texted, we have taken lots and lots of steps, but we are now at a point where and by the way, we also offered a paper version of it if the technology was not there. But we are at a point where we have 7% who have not completed it. Just, you know, the information in it is essential to run the school. We need to be able to contact families. We need to know where people live, you know, that kind of thing. So I do want you to know that at the end of the week, we're going to do one last round of assessment of how many we have, and then I'm going to be sending out a letter from my office telling people you need to have this done by, and I'll pick a date. But the point being, if you don't have it filled out by that point, I will be telling people they can't come to school until it's done. I've run out of gentle, kind ways to remind people, and it's time to do it. We're 3 months into school, and we need that information. So I just wanted to let you guys know that you might hear from a few people frustrated by that, but I think it's time that we make it clear that it's not optional. We have to have this information. We have to be able to contact you. Yeah.
Are we concerned that any of those 7% are hesitating to send in their information because of what might be happening politically around us right now?
Well, we're offering to meet with people. We're offering to have people come in and we can help them. Okay. And there's absolutely an option for people to communicate whatever their issues are. We're not trying to be punitive, believe me. I've run out of, we have communicated 14, 15, 16 times, and it's at a point like, we either require it or we don't. So I promise you, we're not trying, we will work with people to the extent that we can.
And for anybody listening that just needs to hear that, yeah, that's an important thing probably to hear.
Yep.
I'm wondering, would there be, and of course this would be on, an additional thing on you and your office. Do you think there'd be a benefit in having like a day where people come in specifically for that, like this time to this time, we're going to be helping people fill that out, like that's specifically the purpose?
We've offered that in various settings. So what we have done, just, one of the wonderful things about Infinite Campus is it allows us to narrow down. So we're not sending the same communication out to everybody. It's like it's slowly getting narrower and narrower, and it literally is only going to the subset. So you're not seeing all the community, but we are calling, we are offering all kinds of options, and yes, we've offered that, and we will continue to offer that. If there's any issues, come on down, and either Manya in the high school office or Linda or Brenda over at the elementary school will be happy to help. So yeah, we're doing that. My hope is that the vast majority of it is just it's oversights on people's part, and it'll be quick and it'll be easy. Sometimes it's just things get lost in the void of daily
So
life.
how complicated is it for the people watching or anything? How complicated is it? Is it pretty straightforward?
Every single family that has not filled it out yet has received a paper version of the form.
And how long does that take?
I would be guessing,
Okay.
it's probably,
But not that long. I mean,
it's not
just
enormous.
annoying.
In 10 minutes you can do
Okay.
it,
That's
if
what
you
I
have the
thought.
information.
Yeah.
And if somebody doesn't have the form and they've lost it, just contact the school, we'll send you another one, or come in and get one. But it's reaching that point, like, for example, one of my next announcements is next Friday, we're going to be putting out our test message for the snow call thing through the IC School Messenger. Well, one of the things that's how you get into that is by filling out those forms. And so there's a disconnect here. So emergency messages are maybe not being received. And so it's like this circle of like, how do you make it happen? So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that, not because I don't want to be punitive, but just understand that at some point it has to be, you got to do it or not.
Well, I'm just wondering, from a board standpoint, it'd be beneficial to have a policy that says, within 6 weeks, this is the policy. You get the paperwork done, or Superintendent Allen comes and knocks on your door and tells you, you can't come to school.
I do want to say for this year, because this is a new process,
Sure.
and we recognize, and we were very, very, very patient, and I have to, Chris Reeves, our data guy, has been just amazing, just trying to problem solve all these things, reaching out to people all kinds of things. And I do think for future years, number one, it will be a lot easier because you don't have as much information to enter. But I would say a date like October 1 seems like a reasonable date as a starting point. Like, you need to have it registered by that date. And we didn't do that this year because it was new and we wanted to give people the benefit of the doubt. And there are people who are technology phobic, and it's like, okay, that's fine, we'll give you a
4 weeks
paper.
after you sent a paper copy out is long enough to wait, right? I mean,
Exactly.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, I think if the policy committee wanted to discuss it, I'm sure we'd be interested.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely take a look at that. So enough said on that. I do want to comment on something, just because Sawyer mentioned it as well. We did have a very significant fire in the community over the weekend, and we did have 2 of our staff members lose their homes. Thankfully, everybody was physically healthy and safe and all that. But it was a pretty traumatic thing for those families. But one of the things that, I hadn't heard about all the great things the kids were doing, so I thank you for the kids for doing that. But it's been so incredible, the number of community organizations and people who are just stepping up to offer support. So it's been very touching to see. It's often in times of crisis that you find out what kind of a community you're in. And so I just think Newmarket should be very proud of itself for how it's rallied around the families that have faced homelessness because of a fire. In fact, next Friday night, I know there's the Stone Church has an event there. It's like a jazz bluegrass kind of concert thing, a fundraiser. So if you want to get some music and donate to a good cause, you'll have that opportunity.
I believe there is another, one of the parents of children at both schools just put out there another fundraising opportunity, I think specifically for like cash donations, grocery store gift cards, those kind of things. But I do believe that she put it on the Newmarket community Facebook page, so
Right.
people are wondering, how do I, access affiliating, something like that. I think that there have been a couple of people who put the information out there. People are looking at it.
Who's that again? That has it out there, do you know who's
Yes, but I think if you look on the
Newmarket
community,
community page?
Newmarket community page.
I think one's the Venmo or,
Yeah.
GoFundMe,
Yeah.
there's a GoFundMe page,
GoFundMe.
yeah. I would point out, just internally, Sam Scarfo, one of the counselors here at the junior senior high, is sort of taking point on it. So if anybody has any questions in the community, Sam Scarfo here at the junior senior high would be happy to help. And the last thing I wanted to mention, kind of changing gears, you probably saw about 2 weeks ago, the Department of Revenue Administration announced our tax rate. Tax rate? Yay, tax rate. Because I know people love to know what their tax bill is. So the total tax rate for the town of Newmarket is $19.42 per thousand. That's the total tax rate. The part that is the school tax, $12.85 per thousand is the local school tax, and then $1.11 is the swept portion of it. So effectively, $13.96 on the thousand is what the school portion of the property tax is. I do want to highlight that when we projected costs, it's 41 cents less than we projected, okay? So we projected high, came in lower, so we're better off than we thought we were going to be, which is a good thing. So with that, I think I fulfilled my commitment to being long-winded. So there you go.
I'll take only a moment to embarrass Todd just a little bit more at the soccer playoff game that we played at Oyster River, because our field was like a sponge on that particular night. Todd and I were talking, and then Todd went over to talk to Principal Corman for a bit, and another parent that I won't name walked up, and he's like, "That's the superintendent, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "He used to work here, didn't he?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's his name on the top of the scoreboard over there."
I thought you were going to talk about at the game in Laconia when the ball went into the crowd, and I caught it. I mean, I'm telling you. People were saying, "Sign that man up." I heard it. So
it was very skillful, I have to say. Okay, next on our, I'm really booming all of a sudden. Next on our agenda, we are going to go over the proposal to upgrade the electrical service here at the junior senior high school. So Dave, if you would approach the microphone.
So I did some research on your request of adding a heavier wire. The only way we could really utilize that would be to put a sub-panel in every classroom.
Oh, okay.
And that would get ugly and expensive. And then in order for it to work for split units, for a room that size, the split units generally tend to be 220, not 110. So we'd have to run 3-wire plus ground rather than 2-wire plus ground. So honestly, it's really not a cost-effective solution.
Well, thank you for looking into it.
But I did dig through, yes.
So just to go back to the original recommendation was to go forward with the 20-amp service in all the classrooms
To add a
using
single
the
20
impact
amp,
fees.
yes, add a single 20-amp outlet in every classroom. Now, in the future, if we decide we need more outlets, we can branch off that with other 20-amp outlets, just that the total draw cannot exceed the 20 amps.
Which means you could have an AC and a small cell phone charger.
Well, yeah, but, that's what we're doing
Yeah,
right now in every room.
exactly.
So we'd be
Yeah.
doubling the capacity in the room.
Yeah, no, absolutely, it makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Dave. We'll vote on that when we get down to the action items section. Near and
Go
dear.
back to item number 3, bus contract.
Oh, you're right. I confused myself with my various arrows, so Good news is, though, Todd has, I think, the next 3 items on the
Yeah, so I'll just
agenda,
talk a
so-
lot, because that's the theme of tonight, right? So anyway, with the bus contract, the memo that's in there is the same one I gave you 3 weeks ago. You had asked me to revisit the issue with First Student about whether there was any room to negotiate rates. The total cost of the contract, they said, was their best offer. However, if they did say they could potentially shift some of the cost into later years, if that would benefit us. So for example, instead of having 12% in year 1, drop to say 11%, but that would mean, say, 7% in year 2, in year 3 to make up for it. So we could shift cost, and they would be open to that discussion if we thought that would be useful. I will tell you, the 12% cost, which is already built into our budget, is $73,000. So 1% is, $6,000. It's not a huge variation in the contract. So I really think it brings us back to the question of, do we want to go forward with extending the contract with First, which, under the terms they've offered, or do we want to put it out to bid, which I guarantee First will bid on it, but that's the question for us to decide.
Any thoughts?
Okay, thank you for going back and asking that. I'm still comfortable with going with them.
Same.
Outside of the big problem.
And just kind of, I think that's something that been kind of keeping an eye out in terms of the next however many years, if there are other potential service providers that people are looking down the road.
Yeah, if First is still around, or, there was future board problem.
It is, and for the benefit of the public, other than the school districts who do their own busing, which are all districts who are much larger than Newmarket, I mean, aside from a very small number of niche providers, there's First and there's Laidlaw, and that's more or less it in this state. So it isn't as though if we ran a process, we would expect to get 5 bids. More likely, we would get 2 that we would be very comfortable with from an operational standpoint, and maybe 1 or 2 that, as much as we like working with some of these customers on niche things like extracurriculars, would be a bit of a roll of the dice in terms of whether they could actually deliver.
So when you get to decision-making, obviously, if you'd like to go forward with the contract, you'd need to waive policy DJE to allow Bryant to work out an agreement with First.
All right. So next, sorry, go
We
ahead.
could do that now, or just when we sign the agreement? Or vote on the agreement?
Well, I think it would be helpful to vote on waiving the policy so that we know going into the agreement we don't want to.
Just the assurances from the board. Okay.
Right,
fair.
yes, because the choice is put it out to bid, which we'd have to do right away, or,
Well, waiving the policy doesn't preclude us from changing our minds, so that's why
I see, I guess you're right, you could wait and do them simultaneously if you wanted to do that, wait until
I
the
don't think
contract,
it gains us anything. I'm happy to do it, because it provides some
But you're right, you could delay and just do them at the same time, and if that works for you, that's fine.
All right. Next up, we will talk about our 26-27 budget narrative, which was part of everybody's board meeting pack.
You want me to give a
Yeah,
high view?
I mean, we don't need to go through it. We've all seen it, so we
Right,
don't
so
really
this
need to go
is,
through
just
it.
to clarify, we had on October 18th, remember, we spent a whole day together, you guys haven't forgotten, right? Okay. We went through the budget development process, we discussed, we did a PowerPoint presentation with you, which, by the way, the PowerPoint that was shared is on our website. If anybody wants to see that, it's on the October 18th, it's the documents that are with that meeting. After that meeting, the leadership team then drafted what we call the budget narrative, and that's what is in front of you here. Basically, what this does is it lays out for you what the budget is trying to do and gives you the parameters of it, and this would be the document that when the board approves it or changes it, or when you're finalizing it, it would be the document we would share with the budget committee in December. So just keep in mind, that's what this is for. Big picture overview, and basically, we are proposing a 4.41% increase over this year. That's a $1.27 million is what that adds up to be. The big drivers in it are, we've talked about it multiple times tonight, health insurance. We have a $700,000+ increase in health insurance. And then the other driver would be, remember last year we had a new teacher contract and the costs of that were not in the budget. Now they are. So for the most part, those are the two things that are driving that $1,270,000 up. Pretty much everything else in the budget is pretty flat. We did include the repurposing of 2.4 positions to address some of the mental health needs of the district, adding a counselor at the elementary level, and making our school social worker a district-wide social worker, and then hiring an MTSSB coach to help us build the MTSS model across the district. So that's in there. Bottom line, we set the goal when we started of 4%, knowing that we had these challenges ahead of us. Personally, I'm pretty proud of the work we did to get to that 4.41%, because it did involve a lot of creativity and a lot of hard work on my team, and I do appreciate it. So anyway, that's the budget we have, and what I would suggest is maybe next meeting we do a deep dive and conversation about it, with the idea that, remember, in order for it to be approved, for me to share it with the budget committee, you'd need to approve it on the 20th. Any questions?
I would just comment that the 4% roughly increase that this arrived at, I mean, I know that was the goal that we set out, so it's great that it's close to that, but when Janna was in here talking to us about just the steady state carrying forward, we were looking at an 8% or more increase. So this really is a fantastic job that Bryant and you and everyone has done coming up with this budget.
Thank you.
Other comments from the board, questions?
No, I mean, thank you for your time, and thank you for putting this together. And thank you also for adding the Newmarket for people costs without bond in comparison to the state. I think that's helpful. I question maybe whether the order needs to be different, but I don't know, because it's just,
Yep.
But I appreciate adding that. I think it helps a lot.
I did want to mention one thing that we'll talk about when we're discussing the warrant, but there is one of the new laws on the ballot is we have to put, prior to our operating budget, we have to put the per pupil cost and our standardized test scores for our school on the ballot with no context. So just for people to understand, there will be a box at the front end of it that will include, because of
But we can also have another sign next to it that says Newmarket without.
Right, yes.
Because of that bond.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's required, so I do think putting context around where that number is coming from is helpful.
I know I have just a few notes in terms of some things that we had talked about and suggested in order and drafts and things like that, so I'm just going to go back and look at those. But
Yeah, I guess my recommendation to my fellow board members will be, come back in 2 weeks with all of your best thoughts about, assuming we're all getting comfortable with the number, okay, what do we put in this that really makes it apparent to anybody reading it that, we didn't just make this up out of thin air. Here's, how we got to this place. In past years, I've been a huge pain in everyone's behind about really obsessing about how you put this in front of the budget committee in such a way that they, okay, I get it. I see where this comes from. This follows from that. If you go back the 11 years, my first term on the budget committee, the school district has made, I don't think progress is a strong enough word for where we are now as to how we showed this to the budget committee and the community from where the school district was back then. So, there's always those opportunities, and people come up with clever new ways to present things, but definitely give that some thought over the next 2 weeks, because it does make a difference when you go in front of the budget committee. The more that they can see for themselves, the fewer questions they need to ask. It just makes things go a lot easier.
And from a visual and stylistic perspective, if there are any suggestions you have for ways we can, I would ask if you want to, don't send it to the whole board, but if you just email me, then I can work with Ellen to kind of explore possibilities of how we might do it, so that when we talk about it on the 20th, I'll be able to give you some ideas how we might be able to do that.
Anything else? All right. Next up, Todd, if you want to hit the high points here. Ellen continues to give us a synopsis of upcoming community events.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in November. November's a busy month. I'm going to point out, obviously, we talked about the improv show being here. That's a biggie. And probably the biggest one at the elementary school, the spaghetti supper on the 13th. Pretty exciting event. And, PTA book fair, definitely a biggie for the elementary school. That's a great event. And there's multiple others. They got the athletic awards night and all that stuff. But those are the highlights.
Thank you.
I will point out that the book fair night is our next meeting tonight. But those of you watching can walk instead of coming in person. You can walk to the weekend.
I suppose we could move our board meeting to the, no, that would be.
Hey, I wouldn't do that to people. All right, next on the agenda, we want to take a moment to acknowledge 2 very generous donations, both of which are coming from NCEP. Todd, could you just let us know who the beneficiaries are?
Yeah, so Newmarket Elementary School, they have a visiting author illustrator. That's for Jen Casey and the librarian. That's $750 for that. And the junior senior high has a $1,500 donation for to go to the Outsiders musical. I do want to point out, because the amount is above $1,000, we have to do more than acknowledge. We have to vote to accept it.
Very good. We will get to that in just a moment. First, I would accept a motion to accept the minutes of our October 16th meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes from October 16th.
Thank you, Jeff. Do I have a second? Thank you, Lonnie. So one thing I picked up on this, it's on the first page under committee updates. Representative Weinstein spells her first name Toni. I did not see anything else. Did anybody?
Nope, I didn't catch that.
No, there's always room for growth. All right, hearing no other edits or amendments, all those in favor of accepting the minutes from October the 16th?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are unanimous, 5-0. Next up on the agenda, sorry, let me switch screens here. Who has the manifest? Thank you.
I move to approve the manifest for November 6th, 2025, in the amount of $2,175,304.26.
Thank you. We have a motion from Lonnie and a second from Jared. Any questions about the manifest? All those in favor? Aye. We are unanimous, 5-0. I'd accept a motion to approve the NCEP donation totaling $2,250. Thank you, Lonnie. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, as always, to NCEP for your support and generosity to the district. All those in favor? Aye. All right, we're unanimous, 5-0. We have a field trip to approve. Todd, can you quickly?
Basically, a reminder that when, the only field trips that the board has to approve are those which leave the state, and so they go to the art program here at the junior senior high is going to the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. So therefore, they need your approval because it's leaving the state of New Hampshire.
I accept a motion to approve the field trip.
Gladly move that we approve the field trip.
Thank you, Jeff. Do I have a second?
Second, and I think it's the Mediterranean Museum,
Oh,
which
yeah.
I've been to, and it is kind of exclusive, very challenging sometimes to get tickets to, because they sell out.
Cool.
And they're going to have to talk to them.
Yeah, the Gardner Museum is genuinely,
But they have the set, right?
Yeah.
And they
Still
still have,
trying to figure out.
they still have the blank statement.
To put the forensics.
yeah, it's true. Let's, great idea. We're problem solvers here. All those in favor? Aye. All right, we're unanimous, 5-0. I would accept them, all right, so what do we, I mean, do we want,
No point in waiting the policy now.
it's,
because
Wait
we
until we
can-
have the contract?
Yeah, because we
I
can still
think-
not approve the contract.
right, I think that's a good point. So we're going to not act on item 5 and just wait until we actually have a draft contract to look at. At that point, we will vote to waive policy BJE. Last, I'd accept a motion to approve some personnel leave requests.
Motion made. I make the motion.
Thank you, Jeff.
And I will second that one.
Thank you, Kathy.
But if you want to
Yeah,
provide
I-
some context of
Well,
what we're
Yes.
approving.
Well, anytime people are requesting leave, they have to be approved. We have multiple maternity leave requests.
Well, more children, yay.
They will not be unpaid.
All right,
Policy that
No.
very good. All those in favor? Aye. We are unanimous, 5-0. I don't believe we have any need for a non-public meeting tonight.
I don't have any.
Seeing none, I'd accept a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Lonnie.
Seconded.
Thank you, Jeff. All those in favor? Aye. We are